I don't know a single thing that I haven't done to make you notice me.
My microphone wasn't on there for a second. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of T2N Live. Hopefully I can get through this one without any kind of technical glitches. I've been trying for a few weeks now to actually kick off this series titled The Importance of Nutrition, and I'm actually going to be breaking down all the macronutrients throughout this series. I tried like 2 weeks straight and I was having all kinds of audio issues, so I wound up just deleting them right off the Facebook page. And now tonight I've actually combined the presentation and come up with a whole new way to do it. Hopefully my audio is coming through good, and the presentation will come off without a hitch, and we'll be good to go. I'm going to try to do these every Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'm going to get through this series, and then I'm going to start working on some other stuff. But this series will basically it'll be this one, and then it'll be 4 videos following to take care of the rest of the other macronutrients. So before I jump into this, I just want to let everybody know on Facebook and on YouTube, because I'm live on both, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. However, I won't be answering the questions until after I'm done with the presentation. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's jump right into this thing. The importance of nutrition, all about the macronutrients. What are macronutrients? The term macronutrients refers to specific substances that our bodies need a large amount of to assist in maintaining a healthy life function. Contrary to what most people think, there are actually 5 macronutrients, not 3, and we're going to discuss them all in this series. Let's start off with the king of them all, protein. Protein is the basic building blocks of all life. The amino acids contained in the protein we eat are broken down and reformed into other proteins that our bodies use to do everything from fighting infections to helping our cells divide. So when you sit back and you look at the grand scheme of things and you find out that people aren't eating the proper amount of protein they should be eating, that little blurb there just kind of illustrates how important protein is. Next up is healthy fats. There is a difference between healthy fats and unhealthy fats, and we're going to get into that actually this evening, because that's the macronutrient we're going to cover. Basically, fats are a misunderstood nutrient that is vitally important to a healthy lifestyle. Fats provide a ton of energy, and they provide communication between the cells of the body, and there's just so much more that they do. And like I said, we're going to get into that this evening. Okay, the third macronutrient that we're going to talk about is carbohydrates, the big bad carbohydrates. It's a major source of energy for sure. It's one of the main sources of energy that most people use in the body. The main purpose of carbohydrates is to do just that, provide energy. There are 2 types of carbohydrates, simple and complex, and we'll get into all that in later weeks. While they can be highly beneficial to a balanced diet, this is something you need to keep in mind. They can also be extremely dangerous if they're misunderstood or if you're eating too many of them. Now, the next 2 macronutrients that I'm going to bring up don't provide energy like the other 3 do, but yet they're still vitally important to a healthy lifestyle. Okay, fiber. Fiber is actually a carbohydrate, believe it or not, but the reason it can't provide us with energy is because it can't be broken down. In other words, it can't be digested. However, that fact makes it very important to our digestive and elimination systems, as it acts like a conductor to keep things moving down the line, if that makes sense. That's like putting more traffic on the highway, so to speak, if you get my drift. The other macronutrient that does not provide energy is water. Now, when you consider the fact that a human being is made up of over 50% water, not to mention that it's involved in literally every biochemical reaction in our bodies, it's easy to see why water has to be an essential part of our diet. And hydration is extremely important when you're doing exercise and things of that nature. Okay. Now, like I said, we'll be discussing all of these macronutrients in detail throughout this series. But tonight we're going to start with the one that's the most misunderstood, and that's fats. Now, before I go any further, I got a real quick commercial that I want to show you, and then we're going to jump right back into things.
Aren't you tired of the drama? You use your words like they are knives. I don't need that type of drama and trying to be tough all the damn time. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get up? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, go on and shoot me down. I will always get up again. You're looking at me so cold. Get over yourself, are you for real? Why are you looking at me so cold? One's love is now we're enemies. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get up? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, go on and shoot me down. I will always get up again. Don't you know I get up? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, go on and shoot me down. I will always get up again.
Okay, I gotta back up. I see what happened. When I played the commercial, when I came back on, there wasn't any audio. Man, I'm telling you, trying to do this stuff is not easy, guys. It's kind of crazy here. I'm trying to get this stuff caught up. If somebody can let me know where you lost off, or where my audio dropped off. I think it was just before. Let me go back here a little bit. This is a good one for the blooper reel. Let me back my my presentation up here. Okay, so just in case, I'm pretty sure this is where things kind of got screwy. Yep, because I finished off right there. So now we're going to go back. Healthy fats are the glue that holds us together. Okay. To understand the basics of fats and how they're important to a balanced diet, you need to first recognize that there are good or healthy fats, and then there are fats that you need to limit or avoid altogether. Now, the thing to keep in mind as far as calorie-wise is concerned is the fact that unlike protein and carbohydrates that only have 4 calories per gram, fat has 9 calories per gram. Obviously, more than double. So it's easy to see how you can overdo it if you're not careful. This is why tracking your macronutrients is so important. All of these fats are required by our diet, in our diet, because our bodies don't have the ability to create certain fatty acids contained within them. And those fatty acids are vitally important for many functions that we'll talk about here very, very soon. The 3 types of healthy fats: saturated fats. Okay, saturated fats come from animal products first and foremost: beef, pork, chicken. Your dairy products have saturated fat in them. The thing to keep in mind with saturated fat is, while it is healthy in your diet, you need it in your diet, your brain is made up of 33% saturated fat. Your cell membranes, every membrane of every cell in your body is made up of saturated fat. So saturated fat is extremely important to get in your diet. However, out of the 3 that we're going to discuss, the 3 healthy fats, it's the one you kind of have to moderate a little bit, more so than the other 2. The second one up is monounsaturated fat. Now, the monounsaturated fats come from things like walnuts, some cashews, certain oils like avocado oil. Obviously, avocado itself has a lot of monounsaturated fat. Salmon has a lot of monounsaturated fat. Your monounsaturated fat is where you have where you get your omega-3s from. Okay, and we'll discuss that here in just a second too. The omega-3s and the omega-6s. Polyunsaturated fat comes from things like seeds, cashews, peanuts, things of that nature. Again, it's a healthy fat. You need it in your diet. But just like I said at the beginning of this, with all of the fats, because they're so calorie dense, you need to be careful how much of them you eat. I followed the ketogenic protocol for a long time, and one of my favorite nuts to eat while on that type of protocol was macadamia nuts. They're extremely good for you. However, they're super calorie dense, and it's really, really easy to overshoot your macronutrients if you're not careful. So keep all that in mind. Okay. Dietary fat in and of itself has 6 roles in the body. Okay. The first one is that it provides us with energy. In fact, it's the most energy dense macronutrient. Like I was saying, 4 calories per gram for protein, carbohydrates, 9 for fat. So that tells you right there just how much energy is packed in to each gram of fat. Okay. It helps to make and balance hormones, particularly steroid hormones, things such as the sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and corticosteroid hormones too. It forms our cell membranes, as I just touched on. Every cell in your body, that membrane that holds it together, the little bowl of jelly, that's saturated fat. So keep that in mind. It forms our brain and nervous systems. Nerve endings are made up of fat, and they actually help to transmit all of the electrical signals throughout the body. So that's another reason why we need a lot of fats in our diet. It helps to transport the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. What that means is without fat in our diets, we cannot, if we're eating other things that are rich in these particular vitamins, if we don't have adequate amounts of fat in our diet, we can't break them down, we can't utilize them properly because we need that fat to make all that happen. It gives us 2 fatty acids that we can't make on our own, and this is what I was talking about earlier. And I always screw these up, and I'm probably going to do it again. The linoleic acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid, and then we have the linolenic acid. I did it, which is an omega-3 fatty acid. The omega-3s are more important than the omega-6s. However, you do need some omega-6 in your diet. It is another one of the the fatty acids out of those two, omega-6 is very, very easy to overshoot your mark. And if you're eating too much omega-6 fatty acids, it can actually be counterproductive to your health. So just keep all that in mind. At the end of the day, we want to strive for an equally balanced mix of fat in our diet. This balance comes naturally if we choose a wide selection of diverse, whole, less processed foods such as nuts and seeds, avocados, dairy, eggs, fatty fish, poultry, wild game, beef, pork, lamb, olives, and extra virgin olive oil. All right. I made it through the presentation, and everything seems to be working good. So, all right. Now, does anybody have any questions about anything that I've told you guys throughout this presentation? One of these days I'm going to have one of these lives and everything is going to go super smooth and there's not going to be any kind of issues at all. I know what it was. I added in that commercial at the last minute and I didn't set up a couple things, so when it cut out my audio, when the commercial came on, when it came back in, it didn't turn my audio back on. But that's okay. That's the fun thing about live video. You never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like back in the old days when you were watching live TV and you just didn't know what you were going to get. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Doesn't look like anybody's got any questions. If you do have any questions and you're watching this in the replay or something like that, by all means, make sure that you leave a comment, whether it's on YouTube or here on Facebook. And I will, as soon as I see the comment, if it's a question, I'm going to go ahead and answer you. So that way we can make sure that you get the most value out of these videos. Next week, we are going to tackle carbohydrates. We're going to tackle the demon, the one that everybody talks about is absolutely evil. You need to just avoid all the carbohydrates. It's not true. You don't have to. You just have to be careful with them. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me this week. Until I see you again, you know my motto, playtime's over. It's time to go to work.